This time I'd like to introduce the head table. To my right, Berger, Mercer County, Watts, Dan Katie, Kenny Katie, WVA President Tom Lang, and I've introduced him now. Lost my place. I told him I'd be fine unless I schedule something. Tom will now present the award for the Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations.
Thank you, Carl. It was a pleasure to follow Carl up to the mic. Sometimes I speak too fast. Sometimes I slow down. Sometimes I'm trying to pull those words out of Carl. Let's go ahead. So we have a great balance between us. So. Our first award this afternoon is the WVEA Award for Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations. The WVEA Award for Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations is given to the County Association with an active Human Relations Committee, which develops programs that have a significant impact on education and have furthered the achievement of equal education. This year's winner of the Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations goes to the County Association that continues to work each year to improve and create a better understanding about the various racial, cultural, and religious backgrounds in their area. Some of the activities that were conducted this year included the annual Black Educator Award presented during Black History Month, special projects to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, networking with the public library to keep abreast of multicultural events, and celebrating Women's History Month. All of these activities, plus many, many more, are part of this association's continued theme of celebrating people. I am pleased to announce this year's winner of the WVEA Award for Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations goes once again to the Mercer County Education Association Human Relations and Minority Affairs Committee.
I was aware that I was going to receive this award again, unlike last year, and I just had to find something that I wanted to say that would let you know how much I appreciate it. Helen Steinway said, and I quote, "Nothing in life that is worthy is ever too hard to achieve if you have the courage to try it and you have the faith to believe it." Well, ever since 1983, being the recipient of the WVEA Award for Outstanding Program Development in Human Relations, this has definitely been a worthy goal for me. To those of you who come each year to support and be a part of this Human Relations Luncheon, it may seem like deja vu, but I am elated, however, to be here to accept this honor today, or receive this award. And as I do so, I cannot help but to give some credit to the past president, Tom Farmer, who first encouraged me with a challenge that he wanted me to bring this award home. Therefore, I thank Tom for that. And then came Jan Quality, president, and it was Janie Farmer, then it was Sue Wyden and Lane Jesse, and of course I cannot help but to mention past President Bill Lee, who not only encouraged and supported me each year in my efforts to come here and give me the assistance, but also to help me to get elected to DA, so I wouldn't have to just win the award to get to be a part of DA, but in order to enjoy being a part of the Delegates Assembly. So I'd like to say personally, thank you, Bill, for all your efforts. I really appreciate that. So on behalf of the Mercer County Education Association,
WBEA Pearl S. Buck Memorial Award honors a layperson who has made outstanding strides for education and has made an impact on a school or a significant portion of the local community. This year's award goes to an individual who is co-founder and director of the Contemporary Youth Arts Company. The philosophy of the group is to do plays that are thought-provoking and will challenge the audience to walk out of the theme changed, or at least having a different perspective. Most of the plays are original works written by our winner, and they deal with crucial issues such as disability special education, hate crimes, AIDS, and date rape. Not only do the young adults perform the plays, but after school performances, the company comes out to have a forum with the audience for some thought-provoking dialogue on the main topic of the play. In addition to his theater work, this individual teaches summer courses and leads teen workshops for the Community Council of the Kanawha Valley. He is also a writer and award winner. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the winner of this year's Pearl S. Buck Memorial Award, to Mr. Dan Cady.
Ordinarily, my public speaking is confined to doing the fire speech at the theater downtown here, telling everybody how to get out of the place in case of fire. So I could do that one really well right now. I'm not sure what else I can do. We do a lot of fighting. And it's a difficult thing to describe when we go out. Some of you have seen some of our productions. We've taken some of the date rape play and the AIDS play we take out to high schools and junior highs around the state. It's tough. This is a tough thing. You know it because you all face it every day. The reason that we do the date rape play is because of the calls that we got from the schools around the state, and Trina Bartlett over at the Community Council called me up and said, Dan, this is something that's going on in the schools. Could we do something? Could we go out to the schools with this? So we do. And we take 4 kids and we go out and we sit on the edge of the stage and we do a 40-minute piece about what it's like to be violated. And sadly, we have never done a production. In the 4 years that we have been doing this, we have never done a production that we haven't had at least 2 kids come out of the audience at the end of that performance and go directly to our counselors. What a terrible. Lately, this year we did a play called A Service for Jeremy Blum, which involved 18 of the most courageous kids I've ever worked with. Going up on stage and depicting what it would be like to be in a high school after a hate crime, and how divisive it was, and how the kids had to deal with all of the issues, including the press. When we started it, the first thing that one of the cast members said was, we better not do this without a guard. It was funny. I'm afraid I believed that until busted from Harts High School and Bellevue Middle and Charleston Catholic and Roosevelt, and we had a great forum of kids. And we ran through this play, and it's 2 hours long. This is a huge, long, beating you over the head with all of this terrible, terrible stuff. And at the end of it, we came out and we took our bows, and we sat and talked with them, and all of them in that audience agreed that the hate crime, that whole vision that we have of hate had to stop. It had to stop. It had to stop being the norm in the schools. Wow. What an amazing thing to sit on the stage and hear the students say that. What a wonderful affirmation. So I gotta tell you, every time, and I know you guys have the days because I have the days, when you wake up in the morning and you figure, oh, those kids, ah, there's real hope here. There's real hope. There's a way. There's a healing. The kids want to heal. It's a real privilege to be part of that process. So thank you. Thank you for the award.
It's my task to present our speaker for today, Reverend Matthew J. Watts. When I asked, I said, you have a very long bio, and I hope I don't botch it up. And he said, well, you don't have to worry about all that. So you just say, I'm a bald-headed preacher trying to make a difference in the life of a child. And that's wonderful, but I would like to share some things if he doesn't mind. He's a senior pastor of Grace Baptist Church in Charleston. He served there the past 7 years. He's been a pastor for the past 15 years, serving in several churches. He was formerly employed by Union Carbide Corporation for 18 years as an engineer and purchasing manager. In January of 1997, he established the Hope Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit organization with the mission of empowering the inner city with spiritual renewal, education, employment, and training, and economic development. He's a native of Mount Hope, West Virginia, educated in the public school system there. A 1977 graduate of West Virginia Institute of Technology, BS degree in civil engineering. Done theological study through the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. Receiving training on developing the Black family through the Christian Research and Development Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's recognized as a community leader, earned distinction through his active community involvement. Much of his community service is now done under the umbrella of the Hope Community Development Corporation. And one of his passions, he said, is working with youth. And he views his community service as an extension of his ministry that helps him to keep his ministry focused and relevant, as well as sensitive to the needs of the community. And he serves on a lot of different boards, which I'm not going to bore you with. But I would like to say it gives me great pleasure to present to you the Reverend Matthew J. Watts.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Ms. Burke for those kind words of introduction. When someone introduces me with such profundity, it puts a lot of pressure on me because it makes me sound like I'm intelligent. I might have something to say that might be coherent. And when someone introduces me such flattering terms. Really, I can't wait to hear what I have to say. I recently, in one of my programs, I have a person that's working with me to develop a strategic plan for the whole Community Development Corporation. And she told me when you go to speak, you should probably start taking the video camera, videotape. She wants to put together a video to sort of share it with our efforts about and everything. And she said, you say so many profound things when I hear you speak, and yet it's never captured on video, audio, tape. And I told her, well, someone told me that about 7 years ago at our church. And for the past 7 years, I've been videotaping and audio taping all of my sermons. I've not said nothing profound since. I've been chased by the camera. But I'm delighted to be here. I'm really delighted to be here. I am a supporter, an advocate of the public school system, and school teachers in particular. I'm a product of the public school. I believe in the public school system. All 5 of my children have been through or are going through the public school system. My 2 brothers that I raised after my parents died were both educated in the public school system. I have a great passion for public education. Because I believe that life makes up its mind, first of all, in the home, and secondly, in the classroom. So I believe that the real heroes in our society today are not the superstars on television to make the mega bucks, not the entertainers, the actors, and the athletes, but those brave men and women of valor who go into the public school arena every single day, underpaid, underappreciated, and underrecognized, shaping the minds, molding the spirit, and hopefully touching the character of young people. And so I applaud each of you who are involved in public education, as a school teacher, as an administrator, as a principal, as part of the Western Education Association. I applaud you for your work, and I am an advocate and an ally, and one who has joined forces with you, not to merely curse the darkness and to complain and to excoriate the public system, but to be part of the process that brings about renewal and hopefully transformation so that our public school system truly be a world-class system. I'm sure that many of you saw the movie October Sky. I hope you did. And if you did not see the movie, we will probably excommunicate you from West Virginia. That's one of the best movies I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, it was a movie theater I went to see 4 times. When it was in the movie theater, I went to see 4 times. I went to see first 2 of my best friends, Coach Jason G. and his assistant Keith Tower, University of Charleston. We went together, and then I took my wife and we watched it together. And then I took back 4 of my children, my 4 youngest children, and then I took some other youth that I worked with in our programs at the youth. It's a very powerful movie. And many people who have become so programmed by special effects and robotics and people turning into animals in movies, they could not appreciate how profound and how powerful that movie was. Because it spoke to every single generation. It spoke to school teachers that their efforts are not in vain. That one school teacher who believed in a 4 young men brought in a rural community in southern West Virginia, she believed they could become something more than just coal miners. Not that there's anything wrong with coal miners, it's a high and noble occupation, but there was something in them that was greater than that. And she was determined to convince them there was something greater inside of them than what was currently in their environment. It was a movie that talked about what youth can do when parents, even one parent, believes in them and becomes their advocate and their champion. It shows what can happen when the community comes around to support and to embrace young people, to serve as a platform to lift them to where they can see higher, where they can soar and reach their full potential. A very, very powerful movie. That movie really spoke to me because that was my experience. I was born and raised in rural poverty in southern West Virginia, like many of you. The 4th of 7 children, a single female-headed household, receiving aid to family-dependent children, the welfare stipends and commodities before the food stamp. I would go to the First Union Baptist Church with my grandmother to pick up our commodities with my red wagon. We'd load them up in the wagon, we'd come back across the street, back up the holler. I was educated at W.E.B. Du Bois Elementary School. I started school in 1962 in Fayette County. Elementary schools were still not desegregated. So I went to school at a 4-room wooden frame school at the end of the paved road. 4 teachers in that school. I received a tremendous grammar school education. Special education was not in vogue then. I believe there is a place in special education, but I believe that we are abusing that process. There was no such thing as education mentally retarded, mild mentally impaired, learning disability, BD. That didn't exist. Everyone that stepped into Voice Elementary School was expected to learn. And the teachers had high expectations for all of the students, and they would perform to their potential. I share with people often, I did not realize at the time, but I was being raised almost in paradise. In rural communities, in the time of racial apartheid or segregation, within the African American community, the school system was a citadel of intelligentsia. As a matter of fact, the very best minds that the African American community produced were either school teachers or in the ministry. I didn't know any African American doctors or lawyers or dentists or professional people, but I knew school teachers that were people of high intelligence and ability. And so I had Miss Gladys Lowe in the 1st grade, Marion Anderson in the 2nd grade and 3rd grade, and Miss Elise Watkins, the best teacher I ever had in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, one teacher for 3 years. And so by the time we got to the junior high school, Mount Hope Junior High School, we were actually ahead of the students that had been educated in that school. All of the sophisticated hardware equipment and books and so forth in the basic subject of reading and mathematics, because that was so emphasized at Du Bois Elementary School. But not only that, the school was sort of like an oasis. It was a city of refuge. It was a place of the nurture of the mind, of the soul, of the spirit. And teachers made you feel like you really were important, like you really were special. And Mrs. Watkins would always tell me that one day that I was going to do something significant, that I would do something that would touch the lives of other people. That's the type of little community that I was raised in. And I tell my children often, I really believe that I am an underachiever because I had every opportunity to do even more than what I've done in terms of the type of nurture and support my mother, my grandmother, my sisters, and my brothers, the school, the pastor, the Sunday school teachers, and the community that believed that children were indeed the most prized possession. And that was not just vain rhetoric. That was actually what people really believed. You could tell they believed it by the commitment of their time, their talent, and of their treasure. Well, that memory of my childhood is what has motivated me as an adult. I left Union Carbide at the end of 1996. I was one of the top-ranked African Americans in West Virginia. I managed a group of 25 people out of a budget of $150 million I was responsible for. And that was just the maintenance and repair and operating thing that we bought. I could write my name and sign and buy the company to a $100,000 contract. And so when I came in and tendered my resignation, people thought I was crazy. My wife thought I was crazy. And after I resigned, I said, man, are you crazy? But there was a fire that was burning in my heart. A fire for ministry, in which I was born to preach and to pastor, which I had done as an itinerant preacher and as a tent maker, working during the day to provide for my family so that I could preach and minister on Sunday. But I knew that was what I was called to do and what I was born to do. And as I looked out at a community that was disintegrating before my very eyes, young men, lives being thrown away, drug trafficking, drug use, young women giving birth to babies while they're still babies themselves, and seeing a community that's disintegrating. With a clear conscience, I could no longer sit in the comfort and the convenience of corporate America and say that I really was concerned about what happened in the community. And so I left, and I never looked back, and I don't regret it. And I tell people often, I've not made any sacrifice, so don't feel sorry for me. Anyone who's doing what they're born to do and not making a sacrifice, I am thrilled, I'm exhilarated by what I'm doing. Sometimes I can't even go to sleep at night because I'm so excited about what I'm doing. The people I interact with on a daily basis, the lives that I touch. And I believe that God put a vision in my heart, and I established what I call the Hope Community Development Corporation, HOP. And it just stands for hope. Because people kept asking me, what does it stand for? I said, hope enough. the damn acronym, so I just made up something. I said, well, helping other people excel. And so we established the Hope Community Development Corporation. One of our major initiatives and thrusts will be working with at-risk and high-risk youth. There is a difference. And over the last 5 or 6 years, we've gained favor with the superintendents and with principals, and we have run programs in 4 schools that are considered inner-city junior high schools here in Charleston. Forest Man Junior High on the other side of the river, Roosevelt on the east end, Capital Alternative on the west side, and Stonewall Jackson Junior High. And I send a staff of my people in those schools every week, and I've written a program called Empowering Youth through Character Education, Leadership, Career Awareness, and Mentoring. And we now established a partnership also with Junior Achievement. They approached us and said, well, the at-risk youth never really get in our classes, so we want you to partner with us. And so we even teach the Junior Achievement things that are part of our model. And we do after-school structured recreation and social enrichment type things. We take them on field trips, and we work with them to try to help them to realize that they can make a difference. They really do count. They're not throwaways. And more than that, they really are needed. We need the skills, the resources, the talent, and we need them to get engaged and see that they are part of a great, great society, and they have something to contribute. Our program has now been partnered also with the Kanawha County Court and the Kanawha County Probation Department. Some of you might remember a few years ago there was an infamous trial involving a young athlete by the name of Randy Moss. I've never taken any more criticism in my life than the criticism I took for helping Randy Moss. And to this day, I'm criticized for the fact that I helped him. I asked people one question. I said, would you prefer for a young person to be locked up where we have to pay $25,000 a year to house them? Or would you prefer for them to be gainfully employed to where they can pay income taxes and they can pay it and support themselves? My involvement with Randy Moss wasn't about Randy Moss being black. It was about justice. It was about justice. And I went on record at the arrest and I said that if he had done something wrong, he deserved to be punished. And so I was being brutalized in the black community for making that statement. But what I found out once the things started to unroll and unfold, I realized that there was a movement up front to punish him more severely than what the crime warranted. And we did an investigation. The punishment that Randy Moss received for his crime was more severe punishment than anyone has ever received for the same crime in Kanawha County in recent years. In 20 years that they had kept records, they had never revoked anybody's probation, not one single time, for a one-time failed hearing test. It wasn't about race, it was about justice. It was about fairness. It was about the message that we send to youth in the community. And if we send the message that says that if you don't look the way we want you to look, talk the way we want you to talk, if you get in our system, we will destroy you. And that's what I told Judge Charles King when I stood in his court. And I said, in advocate, I said, look, you're going to send a message to the youth in this community. What message are you going to send? King agreed, and King released Moss to us, and we worked with him to help him get reestablished with the probation. It's not about Randy Moss. I don't care if you like Randy Moss or dislike him. That's kind of irrelevant. The issue here is that we were able to gain access to the court. That's what's relevant. And we're saving the people of West Virginia money. That's what's relevant. I was in court yesterday advocating on the part of a young man. His name will never be on the front page of the newspaper. And so we submitted to the court an alternative plan to incarceration. Every time I get to Kanawha County Court to agree to my plan of alternative sentences and to lock them up, let me work with them, let me keep them in school, get them a mentor, find them a job, keep them engaged in society. That saves you $25,000 a year. Just in the way it costs to incarcerate them. Not only the cost of processing them through a judicial system that is laborious and that is bottlenecked, you see. You see, we've got to rethink some things. We're going to have to rethink some things. We're going to bankrupt this country in the name of a war on drugs. We have more people incarcerated in this country than any civilized place in the world. We got more people incarcerated than what they ever had incarcerated in Russia. We're going to bankrupt this country in the name of a war on drugs. And all we're doing is destroying a generation of young people. If you don't believe me, you look at it for yourself and look at the documentation and see what you find. We have to create some creative alternatives. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm not light on crime. If someone commits a crime, they deserve to have some punishment. Let's not be ridiculous and destroy their lives, and that's what we're doing. Every time we give these young people convicted felons, we have given them a life sentence they will bear for the rest of their lives. It automatically disqualifies them from serving in the military, from working at the bank, getting an insurance license, getting a barber's license. Kroger won't even hire them anymore. They're marked people. And so they become burdens upon us as a society. We will pay for them. We will pay for them, and some of us will be victims of their crime. What's a part of our program? We have an alternative sentencing program. We work with juveniles. Sometimes they're referred into our program out of court, and other times by the probation department. If they're one of the select schools where we work, they have to participate as terms of their probation. We then provide the probation departments with periodic reports on their progress and on their status. I'm going after the at-risk, at the high risk, at those who are marginalized, who will end up in penitentiary. That's where they end up. And every time I go and talk to the kid at Capital Alternative School, you know what I tell them? One of your goals in life, your first goal should be to get out of Capital Alternative. Because Capital Alternative is nothing more than a gateway to juvenile detention. Get back in regular school where you belong, to be educated in the regular system where you're not looked at and stigmatized as being some social misfit. The work that I do isn't always popular work, see, because I'm a guy with great passion. And so when you deal in this area and when you have to challenge systems and challenge how things are done, it makes some people feel uncomfortable. But I believe that young people are worth being unpopular for. The young people are worth taking risks for because they are indeed the prized possession that we have as a community and as a society. And so we advocate for young people. What we're also trying to do is build relationships between young people and teachers. And I'm not going to be much longer. The greatest generation gap in the history probably of any civilized people was the generation gap that exists now between teachers and students, adults and youth. But the unfortunate thing is most teachers don't understand that. They do not realize there's a whole new subculture that has been created among youth. A whole new hip-hop, new jack culture that you don't know much about at all. Because if you don't listen to rap music, you cannot understand it. And you don't know who it is that influences the way they think. And you know who they're taking their signals from. Let me give you an example. About a month and a half ago, less than a month ago, Western Radio Corporation took on their radio station, 98.7 on the FM dial. It played some type of light music, and they switched. They didn't announce that they were switching it. They didn't announce they were going to change the format of the station. They switched it, and they made it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hip-hop, rhythm and blues, new jack stuff. Didn't put it in the newspaper, didn't advertise it or anything. In 2 days, they had received 5,000 telephone calls. 5,000 telephone calls they received in 2 days. And I guarantee you 499 of them came from youth. The one came from me, an objection. But in 2 days, the youth culture had identified that radio station on the dial, and in 2 days, they had disseminated the information throughout the Kanawha Valley, and they had received over 5,000 calls. And Dale Miller, the president of Western Radio Corporation, who reports directly to John Racy, he said, never in the history of Western Radio Corporation have we ever seen anything like this. We have never had a response to anything we've ever done. Telethons, fundraisers, with all the money we have spent on billboards and advertising, we have never had this type of response. There's a whole underground culture among youth that most teachers simply don't understand. So they don't understand the baggy clothes. They don't understand the earrings in their ears. They don't understand the braids in some of their hair because they don't understand the hip-hop culture. And it is more powerful than parental counsel or advice. And if you do not understand how to break into the hip-hop culture and to be able to deal with youth at that level, you will not effectively educate many of the youth that will come through your schools. And it's a growing culture. And more youth are buying into that culture. And you as teachers are in a strategic position. A strategic position. You know the old saying that says that the person who sets in academia, the person who's in the university, versus the person that's on the street. So it says the person on the street may not understand the language of the university, but the person in the university ought to be to understand the language of the street. And so it's important that we understand and are able to relate to young people. But those are just some of the things we do. We have many programs, alternative sentencing, after-school tutoring programs, mentoring programs, academic enrichment programs. We just embarked on another program, a joint venture with Washington State College. They got a grant and to start what they call youth entrepreneurs. And I sent 3 of my young people to St. Louis to participate in the Youth Entrepreneurs Conference. And so we're trying to teach young people about business now, capitalistic free enterprise work, and the importance of being literate in the new technology, because the e-commerce is the economy of the future. And it creates a level playing field, because the internet doesn't care whether you're black, green, purple, turquoise, weigh 100 pounds or 6'5", it doesn't really care. Okay? So if you master that technology, you are able to participate in this new economy, and that's where the employment opportunities are going to come from, particularly from people in West Virginia. We do not figure out a way to make sure that we close the digital divide in West Virginia. We might find ourselves going back to Virginia, begging them pardon, and asking them to let us become a part of Virginia Commonwealth again. And so we're trying to help the young people understand those types of things. But you as educators, you're key. You play a key role in this whole thing. And I'm not here to, in any way, to try to excoriate you. You're doing a marvelous and a wonderful job. You just got to do better. We all got to do better. We all got to try hard. As I close, I'm reminded of a story of a man who had taken ill. He figured out what was wrong with him. He reminded himself. He changed his diet. He was exercising. He was taking vitamins. And so finally his wife took him to the doctor. They took him to the Mayo or Cleveland Clinic. And they just thorough, examination. And after the exam, the doctor said, speak with his wife. So the doctor called the wife in, and she said, your husband just has, he has a rare disease, and only a few people ever get it. There's no real cure medically, but a change in lifestyle can result in a total and complete cure. But if a change in lifestyle does not occur, he's going to die. So the wife said, what can I do? Well, the doctor says that, first of all, he is clinically depressed. He is so depressed, only less than 1/10 of 1% of any person ever get this depressed. And so his life must be de-stressed. You can't haggle him, you can't bug him, you can't be on his back all the time. You've got to encourage him all the time. It's okay. He says also, he is malnourished. This contemporary malnourishment, it comes from improper eating over a long period of time. And so his body basically is not functioning properly, tremendous chemical imbalance. So you must rise every morning and ensure that he has 3 well-cooked, well-balanced meals. I said, okay. And he said, finally, the body is a marvelous thing, and all the body functions have a purpose. And so your husband needs the romance of his wife. He needs your attention and your affection, so you must be romantic with him every day, with passion and with great commitment. She said, okay. So she went and got her husband, and they got in the car, and they were driving home. And the husband said, well, what did the doctor say? She said, you're going to die. Application is self-evident. There are times when we know what needs to be done. It's going to take great commitment, great sacrifice, and great persistence. So the question is, are we willing to do it? What our children need is going to take great sacrifice from their parents. And sometimes the parents aren't willing to do it, so we got to step in the gap as teachers and as preachers and as the community. And we got to do what needs to be done. And if we don't, many of our children will die. If our children die, so will our communities. our neighborhoods, so will our state. I trust that you are committed to doing what it takes, and that's within your spirit of influence and power. Thank you for the opportunity to let me come, and God bless you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Reverend Watts. Congratulations to our recipients for our awards today, Mr. Cady, and I'm sure Mrs. Cady. I leaned over and I said, I'm sure you do all the work, he just takes I'd like this time to acknowledge the Minorities Affairs Committee with whom we hold this annual luncheon. If you're here, please stand. Glenn Lacey, Lynn Cannell, Lou Cross, Leslie Clayberg, Roland Hamilton, Vivian Franklin, Lynn Spangler, Bonnie Allman, Vera Brooks, Andrew Anderson, Effie Brown, and the Congo. Thank you for your participation in our Human Relations Luncheon. I'd like to recognize now the Public Relations Committee, Benita Gonzalez, Harry Harton, Patty Hickman, James Keller, Mary Jane Farmer, Madam Berger, Ethel Lee St. Clair, Mary C. Lane, Paula Plotsky, Jennifer Strawderman, Dorothy Ashmore. Thank you to our WDA staff consultants, Kim Randolph and Owens Brown, and the other staff people in the executive committee who allow us to perform these tasks. And thank all of you for coming and participating.